All right, everybody, welcome back. So you should have based it on your waistband, tried it on. If you needed to make any adjustments, went ahead and made those adjustments. And once you finish those adjustments, go ahead and permanently stitch on your waistband, okay? So that's basically number 33. All right, so 34 is the carriers. I'm not going to put carriers on mine, but the directions here are fine. So it's 34, 35, and 36, and 37, basically where to place them. So 34 through 37, if you want to do the carriers, just go ahead and follow those instructions. They are perfectly fine in there. So it should be okay with that one. So now we're moving on to the waistband facing, which is, I would say, 38. All right, so I went ahead and kind of did some of it or most of it. All right, so if you're just looking at this part, let me try to tuck that in. So if we just look at this part here, camera there. All right, so this is attaching the waistband, okay? All right, so the waistband is attached now. Now, once you, press the waistband up and away from the pants. So this is, let me tuck this in, because like I said, I moved a little faster. So that's what you should have at this point, because you're pressing your waistband away from the pants. All right, so now what you want to do is assemble the waistband facing, basically just how you did the waistband by stitching the side seams together, okay? And starting at the back again, you are going to put right sides together. You're facing to your waistband, all right? And so that's what this is, and you're going to stitch along, okay? Just a note, I did finish my seams here just because, like I said, mine has been unraveling, so, but that's not necessary, okay? All right, so now we did that. And along the bottom portion of your waistband facing, just go ahead and finish it how you want to finish it. You can either fold it under, so it'll be a clean finish like that. You can serge it, zigzag it, and leave it open like I did here without folding it under. It's typically how I do mine. I treat it as a true facing. Okay, so once you attach the facing there, then you're going to understitch, which basically means you're going to press the seam allowance toward the facing, and you're going to stitch on the facing attaching the seam allowance, okay? And I do mine at basically, that's like a 1/8 inch. You can do 1/16, which is a half of that, okay? But it's just easy to find it on my presser foot, the 1/8, so I just typically do 1/8. And then you want to give this a good press, so you're going to roll it to the inside like so, and you're going to give that a good press. You know, once you roll everything to the inside, and what that does is the understitching, if I roll it to the inside, you'll see just a smidge of the waistband from the right side rolls over to the inside, and that's this part right here, and that just ensures that the waistband keeps a clean finish on the outside. All right, so now you have two options, and I'm not sure how they tell you to do it here. Oh, they tell you to slip stitch it. So basically all the steps that I just told you is 38 through 43. 38 through 43. So they want you to slip stitch it. Or what you can do is stitch in a ditch, which is this seam. So you're pressing everything to the inside. All right, so the inside should look like that. And what you're going to do is sew inside this seam. So you're going to try to make it as invisible as possible. So maybe pull on both sides as you're sewing to try to really get in between that seam. Okay, so that means stitch in a ditch. So typically you don't see it from the outside because you're sewing inside that seam. Or like me, try to make it easy, what I typically do is do 1/8 top stitch on the bottom here, you know, and that also catches the, you know, catches that face in here, so that'll keep that down. I'm just not good at stitching in a ditch. I think I need a different foot to help me get in here. So I just, since I know it's just, I'm just not good at it, I always just do a 1/8 here. Now I can, you know, make a uniform and go and have the 1/8 up here as well, but I typically don't. You know, it's just a fashion thing, you know, it's a preference thing, I guess, how you want it, and just having it down here is fine with me. And then, all right, so once you do that, then you're going to do 44, or you can save that for the last little bit, which is your hook and eye. Okay, and that's on the front here. Oh, so let me also tell you, moving a little too fast. So once you do your understitching, and on one side, on the left hand side, you'll be creating this L shape here, okay, to close out the face, the waistband, because it has this 1.5 or 1.25 extension. Okay, so once you do that, close it out, and what you want to do is just finish your stitches at your fly. So this is my fly, so just finish your stitches at that fly. and you're going to want to trim here and trim your corners, okay? But just so you can kind of see what it looks like before I trim that. Now keep in mind, this is not trimmed, so it's a little bulky, but that's what I have to point out, those corners on the end. Really just need to trim it. Be careful when doing this because you can take the fibers out. You know, want to be careful on that. So this is what it looks like on the end. I'll give you a better image. Okay. Maybe if I turn it this way, you're probably looking at it backwards. You get the idea. I just need to take out those quarters. But this is, once it's all, get the idea of how that looks. Okay, and that's the extension past your fly, and here it's going to be in line with the guard. Okay, so it's a tiny L just in line with that guard. You do the same thing, trim along that 5/8, and then you're going to clip your corners and then turn out. All right, so that is that. And now we're going to move on to finishing the lower edge. So I'm going to press all this to the inside. Press it all to the inside, and then I'm going to pin on the outside, place pins, and then I'm going to stitch 1/8 here, and that'll finish this waistband. And then we'll come back to number 45, which says, Oh, hold on. Nope, that's not us. Sorry. Number 46. All right, so to make the pleats on the plan, so you have right side out, you're going to crease along the small circles. Bring creases of those small circles to the lines of the large circles. You're going to base that, and then you're going to base across the lower edge and press. All right, so just so you know, you'll have one pleat on each panel. So one pleat on the side back, back, side front, and front. Okay, so you have 4 pleats all together, and just think that you're going to be folding the pleats to the center. Okay, so the way I do my large circles, I just put dots, then I put a circle around it. So for me, that means large circles. Regular dots, just small circles. All right, so I'm just going to do one. Well, I'll do these 2, and you just repeat it for the front. I already done mine on the front. All righty, so these are my small circles to large circles. So you're just going to crease along your small circles, bring it over to your large circles. Okay, pin in place for now, and then you're going to base it. All right, so again, crease along your small circles, bring those over to your large circles. Alrighty, and pinned. And what they want you to do is just to base, your pleats in place, and then base along the whole entire bottom edge. But since you have it pinned, you can skip that, just the pleat basting, and just base along the entire lower edge. Excuse me. And then at that point with me, I'm going to finish mine because, like I said, mine frays. So go ahead and do your pleats and come back, and then we'll move on to step 47. Okay, so moving on to the home stretch here. So 47. So you're going to need a pattern piece 11, all right, which is this, and it should be interfaced, but as you can see, mine is not completely interfaced. I always do this, I have 2-inch strips, and I try to get it where it's not within any seam allowances. Okay, and so this is, and eventually it's going to be folded, so I didn't put it all the way up there. So that's just how I do mine. You can do the whole thing as you want, but I always I cut mine out strips, 2-inch strips, and then I'll just use that. All right, so once you have it interfaced, all right, on the unnotched edge, one side has a notch in it, as you can see, has that notch. On the unnotched edge, you're going to fold up 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, and then you're going to trim it down to 3/8 of an inch. I didn't trim mine down. I kind of like the bulk, and I just don't typically trim mine down, but feel free to trim it down to 3/8 of an inch. And as you can see, I put little dots. I just take my ruler here, put it at 5/8, and then take my marking tool and mark off little dots on there. And then I press it up. So start on one end, looking at the dots, put my hands on the dots and press, go to more dots, press it, and that's just how I get that. So press that up. So that's 47. Okay, so now moving on to 48. You're going to fold it along the fold line. You should have a fold line straight down the middle. You're going to fold it so that it's right sides together. So right now, obviously, this is wrong side up because you can see the interfacing. So you're going to take it and fold it along the fold line so that it's wrong sides together. All right, and it should look like that. Give that a good press. All right. And then what you're going to do, once you do that, is you're going to stitch the ends and you're going to trim the seam allowances, okay? So excuse me, for one end on this angled end here, I use a guideline and do my 5/8 so I know where my pivot point is, as you can see. So feel free to do that too, helps you out. So what you're going to do is on both ends 5/8 sew that, and on the other end 5/8 and sew that, and then you're going to trim it down by half, what I usually do. Now because I did alterations on mine, mine is the original length, and I know I'm gonna have to cut mine down. Okay, so just to show you, this is what I already did one, and this is what the end result looks like. It's the outside. Oops, where we at? This is the inside. Better look on the inside. All right, so if you're like me and need to, yours is longer than normal. So just so you know, the one that's folded up, all right, you're going to kind of keep that out the way because that gets finished on the inside. So you're going to put right sides. Oops, so obviously it should look like this because we had folded it, right? So right sides together. And what I want to show you is actually, like this. On this end, all right, so this should look like this. Now, keep in mind, I have not sewn my ends together, but I just kind of want to show you how to attach it. So this is supposed to be your raw edge. Remember, mine is just finished because it ravels. This is your raw edge. This is your one that's folded. Okay, and keep in mind this should be stitched. So you're going to want to kind of have it angled because you want those ends to match. Okay, so kind of angle it, if you can see. So here, so don't have it like this. This is on the leg part. You want to angle it so that it's basically in line, so it looks like so, just flush and angled. Okay, now what I'm doing is I'm just trying to figure out how long or how much I need to cut off. So I will be speeding through this. I'll actually get to the editing portion. And if you're like me and need to figure out, this is just how you figure out. You just walk it. You walk it until you get to the very end, and that's where your seam line should be, right? So you can put a mark, you can put a pen. Excuse me. These allergies are getting me. Pollen out here. All right. Oops. I don't want to attach the whole thing. All right. Now from there, because that's your stitch line, right? I'm just going to make a mark. So I know that's my stitch line. Line it up with the grid so it's even. And so I can take my pen out. And that's on number 3. Yeah, number 3. And I am just going to mark it. Like so, and then do a 5/8 seam allowance. So stitch line, sew, stitch line, cut line. Okay. And we're going to cut it. Now I'm going to do my closing off of the ends. Better this way. So when you sew it to close it off at the ends, you want to make sure that your folded edge is still up, okay? And you're going to sew starting from that folded edge up, okay? So starting from that folded edge, making sure to secure that folded edge down, up. And then of course, you know, you have this angle here. All right. Go ahead and do that and come back. And when you come back, all you're going to do is flip it to the right side and give that a press. So once you do that, come back. All right, so trimming off the seam allowance, trimming corners or cutting corners, however you want to call it. Up here, same thing. Trim. And the corners here. Alrighty, and then you're going to flip it right side out. Make sure to poke out your corners. You can use a tool to make it easier. You want to give that a good press. Now, let me re-show you this now that it's turned out and you can actually see these little corners here. You see how that corner turns in right here? That's what you have to line up. And so, remember, raw edges together, right? And so you're going to have to angle this so it is flush. Like so. Okay, so that's this one. So when you turn it, it'll look like that. All right, so again, make sure that the little piece here from this side, the little seam allowance, that it is angled to meet here. Angled to meet that side there, okay? So it should look flush like that, and then pin it. And then you can start pinning around. All right, and then what I do, once you know, kind of pin all the way around, I flip this back because remember, you don't want to sew where you turned up the seam allowance. Kind of flip that back and just pin it so it doesn't want to roll, or that you forgot not to attach that. All right, so once you finish pinning the cuff to the hem, all right, you're going to sew it at, starting at one end. If you need to, pull away that folded up seam allowance away, and you're going to sew at a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, attaching the two together, and then they want you to trim it off. Me, I don't, and the only reason why I'm not right now is because I like the extra weight that it gives it, you know. But most definitely, you can go ahead and trim like they say. All right, and that is, I want to say, number Trying to keep the numbers together. 50, I want to say, pin cuff to the lower pants, right sides together. If I didn't say that, right sides together. Matching notches, circles, squares to inner seam base. They want you to base first. Stitch, keeping pressed edge free. Trim seam allowance. So they want you to baste it first and then stitch it. I'm just going to stitch it. You can do however method you want to do first. If you feel more comfortable basting it, do that. If not, just go ahead and stitch it. And then again, they want you to trim it. And that is step number 50. All right, do that and come back. Okay, so back from the sewing machine, attaching the cuff to the pants, okay? And I did sew it with looking at the cuff. Okay, cuff side up is how I sewed it. Just in case you're wondering. Now, you want to kind of look at the inside. So turn it so you can see the inside. And you're going to flip the cuff up and away from the pants. All right. And then the ends, you want to make sure to tuck inside the cuff. And you want to basically, where your stitches are, you want the cuff, the one that has the folded edge, okay, to just cover that portion. Like so. Let me do it again because I'm not sure if that was on. So make sure that the ends, okay, you tuck them in on the corners, tuck them in side the cuff, and make sure that the cuff covers the stitch line, okay? And you're going to pin, okay? And you're going to make sure all your seam allowance is inside the cuff, basically. And you're going to pin all the way around. Pin all the way around. And they have you slip stitching it, I want to say. That is 51. Turn seam allowances toward cuff, so make sure it's inside the cuff. Slip stitch, press under edge over seam. So they want you, once you have it all pinned, they want you to hand stitch it, okay? Me, just like I did with my other one here, and just like I did with my waistband, I'm going to do a 1/8 seam, okay, to secure the cuff. You can always stitch in a ditch as well if you want to, if you're brave enough to do that. Or you can do the 1/8, or you can hand sew it. And then once you finish that, you need to make your buttonhole on the, like the angled side. That's the buttonhole, and your button on the straight edge. Sew in your button. And then you'll be all finished with your pants. All right, everybody. Feel free to send your pictures if you do this pattern on the Facebook group. Please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and make sure to hit the notification bell to make sure that you get notified when any new videos drop. And the very last video will be of me wearing these lovely pants and me giving you, you know, like the last little bit of takeaway about the pants, every little thing from cost to make. You know, we'll review the type of fabric I use, any changes that I would do if I'm going to resew these pants, and hence I will resew these. Any other alterations I would do, just, you know, just a overview of the pattern and my thoughts on it. Okay, everybody? Until then, happy sewing, everybody.